I still don't know how to say it. I think I got like 50 different corrections in my review for this, so I can't make sense of what everyone said, but I'm just going to say Kagi.
I say Kagi.
I actually think the real pronunciation is a Japanese pronunciation, and I just sound so problematic when I say it. So,
You know what? That's fair.
I just don't want to say it. That's actually what's going on here. Anyway, Kagi Search has announced the implementation of privacy pass authentication, a protocol designed to protect user anonymity and prevent server-side tracking. So, context here, it's a paid search engine, which means they need to be able to know if you're a paid subscriber, and they don't have the benefit of being Mullvad VPN, which has their own search engine called Leda, which is able to recognize that you're connecting from a Mullvad server, and it just goes, this person's a Mullvad subscriber, so we're just going to let them access the site. Kagi doesn't really have that luxury because they don't have their own VPN service that's tied to their search. So instead, they pretty much over-engineered this crazy solution to just be able to tell if you're a Kagi subscriber. So Privacy Pass allows users to authenticate without revealing their identity, making it impossible for Kagi to link searches to specific users. Even if a server attempts to incorrectly implement the server-side computation, the client-side implementation ensures that users remain protected. So this is something that you can enable, and I would recommend for Kagi users to enable. So this does require using their Orion browser, their Android app, or their browser extension, because that's how the signing is done and you need a way to sign it securely. So since this feature disables your account settings, it can be toggled on or off as needed. So again, this doesn't come with some drawbacks, but this deals with literally, I had people DM me after my review telling me, I can't believe, not this aggressively, but they were like, why didn't you mention that this clearly isn't a privacy respecting service because it requires an account? And my response to everybody was, this is a paid service whose entire goal is to be a more safe, privacy-respecting alternative to things like Google, which otherwise have no business models. And what I kept hearing was the fact that it requires an account means they have a central database and they're collecting data on all their users, which is a massive assumption to make, and that's not necessarily a guaranteed situation, though I agree it's not ideal, but I did bring up the account requirement in the review. I'm saying this because they addressed this issue they didn't actually need to fix, in my opinion. Like, this is completely not necessary because they probably already know internally that they're not doing this, but they are just going a step further and being like, hey guys, here's a way for you to mathematically prove that we can't do this. I am not a Kagi user. They didn't even pay me for a trial account. I reached out to the CEO and I said, hey, do you guys do trial accounts so I can like properly test this for the month? He said, no, you're going to pay for it. So I paid for it. So I'm down some money here. So I have no commitment whatsoever to Kagi. I'm just upset that the community had a complaint that I thought was a pretty intense complaint and they still went out of their way to fix it. So my point is, they deserve mad respect. If you were especially someone who is concerned about this, actually use it now, because your one reason to not try this out is no longer a reason. IMO. Sorry for the big rant. I just think that they did a really good job. They still addressed the issue that they didn't even need to address. And one thing that isn't in our notes here is they also released an Onion service, so you can also access it through Tor as well, directly via an Onion link. Also, they open sourced this implementation of Privacy Pass, so you can go ahead and review it if you're a developer. Just to summarize, if you leave complaints about privacy services, or not just services that value privacy, if you leave complaints and they fix those complaints, actually tell them and be like, whoa, holy crap, thanks for listening. Like, let's actually use the service now, guys. Because otherwise, why is anyone going to care about what the privacy community says? So good job, Kagi.
I just have to add, number one, to support what you just said, the quote that I picked out here, it's one thing to promise we won't track you, it's another to make it technically impossible.
I just want to clarify, the people who reached out to me, I don't think they're wrong. I just think that they are missing the whole point of a service like Kagi in the first place, which is literally the whole selling point of Kagi is pay us money so that we can promise you we won't track you because we have an ethical business model. And that requires trust, which is something I covered in the review, is like there's a lot of trust here. So them even taking out the concept of trust, super important, super good. I fully agree with people who sent that complaint. But I think for people to just not in any way kind of consider how other search engines can do similar tracking without needing an account to do it is silly. I mean, fingerprinting plus an IP address is enough to be able to track most users in most situations, even if there's not an account. So if we want to like nitpick hypotheticals, I think it can go in any direction. I don't know why I'm so worked up over this because I didn't even love Kagi that much. My review wasn't that positive. and I don't use it. I haven't used it since the review. I think I'm just really upset with how like people came forward with their criticism and how I just haven't seen the response to that criticism.
A couple other things I wanted to add. Number 2, this is not available on the free tier or the starter tier. They said for technical reasons, but I'm not sure why that is.
Is there even a free tier? I thought they just had like a...
There is a free tier, but it's only like 100 searches or something.
No, it's not even usable.
I mean, that's plenty usable for me. I really don't do that much searching. I don't use Kagi. I'm just saying it would work for me. Number 3, my only complaint is I don't like that it requires using the browser, the app, or the extension. I would rather, because you can sign in on the web page. It's like, I would rather just sign in on the web page and go.
You're not seeing how the feature works. This has to be crypto. Like, so Mega is another good example of this, if I'm understanding this correctly, the cloud provider. And this is something people wish Proton did as well, for the record. One of the biggest complaints about Proton is you're trusting the server to still like give you your encryption key, essentially, for the end-to-end encryption, which requires some trust. But with Mega's extension, which you can opt into using, the encryption key is stored locally on your device. So it's an extra removal of trust in the provider. And a lot of people want Proton to do this. It's one of the biggest security complaints on Proton. So that's why you can't just log in and enable this in your Kagi settings in your account. It has to be tied to some local form of encryption that's stored on your client. If I'm understanding this correctly. So if anyone has an update to that, definitely like leave it. But I agree. I wish it was as easy as just logging into your account.
And then number 4, Orion.
Oh, I've always said Orion.
I just had to point that out. I thought it was funny.
Every time I go on Kagi's website, I really want to move to it. I love the concept. They're really doing a good job. And every time I check out the site, they have some really cool new features. And like seeing their commitment and seeing the way they're handling things is really cool to watch.
For me, it was their interview with Seth on Opt-Out. That was the first time like hearing him explain, like, here's all the things we do, here's our philosophy. And that was what really put me at ease of like, oh yeah, these guys are at least really trying to like take privacy seriously.
You just watched a clip from our main podcast, Surveillance Report, where we talk about privacy and security news every single week to keep you all updated on the newest threats and how to prevent them from happening to you. If you want to learn more and stay updated, check it out here on the screen or in the description. And there's also an audio-only version that you can also find down in the description. We'll see you there. Thanks for watching.